Alright, couple things before we get into it, kiddos. One, I'm gonna try to edit them all out, but this game is known to have a bunch of random flashes, so epilepsy warning just in case I miss a few in the B-roll. Okay, cool. So tell me, friends, have you ever went and experienced something so horrible, so awful, that you just felt the immediate need to tell all your friends and everyone you know in hopes that they won't be forced into the same experience as you just had, and thus you have made the world a better place by arming them with knowledge? Well, that's exactly how I feel about Radical Heights. To my immediate perception at least, this game came from seemingly nowhere and is oddly reminiscent of that time a few years ago when everyone and their cousin was making a MOBA game to try and cash in on games like Dota and League. Except now it's 2018 and they're trying to cash in on PUBG and Fortnite. Radical Heights brings absolutely nothing new or positive to the Battle Royale genre. To start, this game was extremely sloppily rushed out as made apparent by how everything plays. It's optimized extremely poorly. For instance, when I turn on the auto detect, it detects my big meaty 1080 Ti, but unless I have VSync on, this game's frame rate is so unstable that I cannot actually play. The player characters handle extremely poorly, sporting various bugs and hiccups like not being able to sprint in certain directions and weird backpedaling features, and apparently women are too hard to construct for this, which will be especially sad once I reveal a few details in a moment. Also, the bicycles handle about as well as somebody desperately trying to get out of another DUI. Really, it's like your player character has never heard of the concept of turning the handlebars to corner. Once you finally get out of purgatory, you'll notice that there's no apparent way to open any sort of chute or have any control beyond complete freefall, and the detail level is almost non-existent. I am talking Arma 2 mod of DayZ levels of not detailed inside the building. I'm not sure if this is some sort of placeholder generic texture or if this is simply a lack of texture, but nothing is in a lot of these buildings. It's not just textures, there are no objects anywhere at times, except in stuff that looks like it may have been pre-bought. There are a few things that seem that they are definitely unique to this game, which we're going to get to in a bit when we talk about gameplay and themes, but there's really not much going on here. In fact, aside from a few musical cues and your footsteps, it is dead quiet in this game, to the point of where when you're finally shot at by someone when you meet another soul in these worlds, it's just going to be the scariest thing ever. Not because of the surprise of someone shooting at you, but because it's literally nothing but silent and the little tapping noise of your feet as you creep around, and then one loud bang in your headset like somebody just popped a bag near your head. It's gonna be even scarier once you get into an actual fight with someone because, in all honesty, I have not seen rubber banding this bad since Battlefield 4's launch. Now, before we move on, let's circle back to those potentially store-bought assets, which while I did poke around in the wild in the Unreal Store, I couldn't exactly find everything, but unless you're blind, you probably know that this is an Unreal Engine game, which Fortnite also is an Unreal Engine game by merit of being an Epic Games product. It's fine and good to use the Unreal Engine. It's also fine and good to buy assets, especially when you're starting out on your game and you need to put something in there. But it doesn't exactly look good when your game's animations and mechanics are almost identical to your main competitor right now. Like, I'm not sure this is exactly identical, and I'm reviewing my own footage as I edit this just to see if I'm crazy or not, but holy crap, it's almost uncanny at times how similarly everything moves around in comparison to Fortnite. I understand you gotta do what you gotta do to get your game off the ground, but this is doing Radical Heights zero favors as far as being called a Fortnite Battle Royale knockoff. At the present moment in time, this game is dangerously flirting with being an asset flip style game. I know it's very early in its release, but when you pair the animations with the bot assets, with having absolutely nothing original and a general air of sloppiness as far as things like netcode and other such quality of life features like graphics optimizations, That's very asset flippy. I won't say it's definitively an asset flip, but a lot of the elements of an asset flip are there, such as buying the assets. So let's talk about the unique things in Radical Heights, like that god-awful 80s theme. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the 80s throwback theme is getting especially stale and seems to be giving way to the 90s throwback theme, especially since the time frames are changing and now it's cool to be retro 20 years ago in respect to the 90s, as the 80s is now approaching 30 or so years old. And what better thing to bring back from the 80s than obnoxious game show hosts that have to add little tidbits to everything you're doing?
Oh, pretty sure they didn't see that one coming. What you're taking home today.
Really, this doesn't make me want to play more of this game. I wish there was a way to turn off the announcer, even though it's already eerily quiet inside this game. I just like him to go. This game features an aesthetic and cosmetic items that are very reminiscent to what people think they remember about the 80s as opposed to what the 80s actually looked like, and of course you can pay money for this, which brings us into how this game is potentially pay to win. Now, there's a money system in this game where money is literally laying around all across the map, and there are certain things you can do, like stand on a certain point that's all exposed to open doors to get money and items. And there are random vending machines around town that will allow you to buy weapons, armor, and other things like backpacks. You know, you'd think it'd be enough that these things make a really loud noise, alerting literally everyone within the town to exactly where you are, but you have to use this money you find in order to get these items if you want an edge. Why is this a problem? Because this is also what you buy cosmetics with. The problem of this is that if you want an item really badly, you want to keep up with the Joneses because you have a psychological need to look good even though there is no edge in gameplay for looking good in game, you're going to have to not spend money on upgrades in the map. And by doing so, you are putting yourself at an uncompetitive position compared to somebody that's going to just throw $100 or so into the game and get whatever they want whenever they want it, and they're going to use their money to buy all the things in the map. They're going to get their rifle. They're going to get that top tier level body armor because they don't need to worry about saving up for a hat or yet another 80s style t-shirt. So they're going to win. So in theory, and possibly in practice, this game is still pay to win even after altering its Founders Edition package in light of the immediate controversy about it. What's slightly less egregious but still really annoying is how this game does closing the storm, or the 80s filter thing of death it has. Rather than going in a predictable circle, this game has random squares that are picked off to be the ones that are cordoned off and turned into death zones. It's all random. And this poses the problem of, if it's all random, you create little paths which, while are interesting to try to navigate around, I was able to pretty much hang out in one spot for quite a while during a game that was out in the boonies, and I was totally fine. I did not have to move. I admit I am predominantly a stealth player of these types of games, and this game makes stealth very rewarding because I don't have to play aggressively to get money. I just creep around and wait for everyone else to die. The goal of the storm, or the toxic gas cloud, or whatever you want to call it in your Battle Royale game, is to force players together to make jerks like me actually have to fight. And while this game does have a sort of final shootout showdown, or whatever 80s cliche term that I can't remember immediately off the top of my head, I had no impetus to actually go inwards to the map until very late in the game. And that's not how you get fights. In the majority of my playthroughs of this game, I did not see another soul until the very end of the match. I seriously doubt there was any initial testing or player QA before this was released to the world. And you know what? There's no excuse for this. I don't care that this is labeled early access. It is 2018 as the time I am creating this video, and early access no longer means you get a free pass from putting out garbage. Your first impression is your first impression, no matter how advanced it is. If you are selling something associated with your product or selling the product itself, that is your first impression on everyone, and this is a garbage first impression. Oh, it's just, you gotta be nice. It's like the first you've shown it. You know what? The footage I'm using here is from Fortnite's early access. Like right when it first came out in a Battle Royale mode. This is polished. This does not have serious glaring issues in it that make the game hard to play. It is detailed. It runs nice. That is good. Even if you're going to put something out as early access, you still need to develop enough to make people want to access it. You know what? It's almost 3 a.m. as I am recording this. I played a bunch of this game and I am so perturbed, and I need to just find a lesson to be learned out of this game. And I think I've got one. It's something I've been playing around with in my head for a long time. It's something I call Lucas syndrome, named after George Lucas, and I think it applies here. Basically, this is what happens when you give something that has been a lauded creator in the past who has made amazing works and has inspired generations. If you take that person and you give them an unlimited budget and you give them no oversight and you don't give them anyone that is brave enough to question anything they do, the output will almost always be crap. I could be entirely wrong here though. This could possibly be that they were really upset over lawbreakers, whoever they might be, and they demanded a cash-in game if there actually are any investors tied to this, and they no longer see the magic that was once Jazz Jackrabbit in Gears of War. And who knows, now maybe Cliffy B is being forced to eat more crow because of his past transgressions, that maybe he actually knew better. Maybe this isn't Lucas syndrome like I have called it. All we know for certain is that there is no excuse for this game. Thank you so much for letting me get this off my chest, and if you like what I do and you'd like to help me out, please consider giving $1 to my Patreon. It's cheaper than a soda from the vending machine, and it's better for your health than that soda is. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, Twitter, ring the bell, notifications, etc., and enjoy the cat footage. Bye.